One of the most exciting and anticipated events in Tubular Vortex is Momoshiki's Emergence. One of the main reasons why the fans can't wait to see Momoshiki again is to see how Boruto and his relationship is post time skip, as well if Momoshiki will reveal something about the current state of events that could shift the narrative of the story. All in all, he's just a very important character, and to be honest, he's grown exponentially in popularity over the last year or so. So him randomly popping up in the story would have so many fans out of their seats. Before we start the video, I'm gonna kindly ask if you would drop a like on the video, as it will help the video extremely in the YouTube algorithm, and it'll help new people discover the channel. If you support your boy, then let's try to get this video to about 300 likes. That's solid. But enough of that, let's jump right into today's video. To be honest, Momoshiki can be a catalyst for things to really start heating up in the story. At the start of Tubular Vortex, we seen just how powerful Boruto is. He was defeating Claw Grimes left and right with a single swing of his sword, defeated the strongest version of Mitsuki without breaking a sweat, fought against all of the Shinju and came out alive, as well as made Code look like a fraud more than we already knew he was. And I didn't even know that was possible. He did all of this in base, by the way. It's probably safe to say he's been moving all around fighting non-stop ever since chapter 1, saving his comrades left and right. Lately, it's been feeling like Boruto is the only one that's actually capable of doing anything to help control the situation. Through the Code situation and now against the Shinju, bro has been hard carrying the fate of the world on his shoulders. Even though he's literally been perfect going about doing that, I don't care who you are. It will get tiring to constantly do what Boruto has been doing all these chapters. And I fear that Boruto doing all of this moving around and fighting will do more harm than good sooner rather than later. If we take a look back at chapter 9, there was a brief but very significant panel that showed something that could be very threatening to Konoha as soon as the next chapter. And that's when Boruto's karma went out of control when fighting Kawaki. We can't just look over this, because it's literally telling us Boruto's #1 weakness is his karma. As much as it can assist him in battle, it could be just as much as a hindrance. Now that we know he can't control his karma, what does that mean? How is that important? If we take a look back at part 1, every time Boruto's body has gotten taken over by Momoshiki, a common theme that we see over and over again is either Boruto being out of chakra or severely injured. This allows Momoshiki to take control of Boruto's body easier. In fact, ever since Boruto became 100% Otsutsuki, it's actually been easier for Momoshiki to take control of Boruto's body. Against Boruto was extremely exhausted and injured to the point of him losing his consciousness. Then during the Ishiki fight, more or less the same situation, extremely exhausted and again unconscious. As you could see, the further Boruto went through the Otsutsufication process, did I just make up a word? What the hell is Otsutsufication anyway? Well, you get what I'm trying to say. The more he became Otsutsuki, the easier it became for Momoshiki to take control of his body. Against Code, he didn't even need Boruto to be out of chakra to take over. Just the process of expending a certain amount of chakra suffices away from Momoshiki to take over. It looks like the way Boruto is now, he's not built for long drawn out battles, at least not while he can't control his karma. The longer the battle, the more he's at a disadvantage, especially against stronger foes. We see from chapter 79, Boruto fought with Kawaki until he eventually got his eye sliced. Kawaki's karma resonating with Boruto was most likely the reason his karma activated in the first place, but all the same, using the karma as well as expending chakra acts as a way for Momoshiki to emerge. Although it wasn't very long, he was able to take control over Boruto's body just long enough to free Kawaki. However you interpret it. Maybe you think Momoshiki wanted to just sit back and watch Boruto's prophecy unfold from the back seat, or maybe you think he was able to only take control for that little time. Either way you look at it, it's pretty apparent that the more chakra that Boruto loses, or the more he's incapacitated from battle, the easier and longer Momoshiki could take over. That's really part of the reason why Boruto doesn't even want to use the karma anymore post time skip. He knows the risk, and he knows now nobody will be able to stop him if he does lose control. No matter what you think, something definitely happened between Momoshiki and Boruto during the time skip that wasn't revealed yet. Because now, even the slightest activation of his karma is enough to allow Momoshiki control over his body. The risk is just too great. And I had a lot of people try to say that Momoshiki isn't a threat because Boruto is stronger than him now. So if BORUSHIKI emerged, then he would be somehow weaker than base Boruto. But what a lot of people don't realize is Momoshiki is using Boruto's body as a vessel. Their relationship is similar to Himawari and Kurama's. Not saying Himawari is a vessel or anything, but as far as their body and soul being as one, that's something they both share. So whatever power Boruto gains or new abilities he learns, as well as his new mastery of Kenjutsu, Momoshiki will gain access to all of that. Just like the first time Momoshiki copied the Rasengan to unalive Boro, or even creating his own variant of the Rasengan being the Rasendan. So if anything, Momoshiki would get stronger utilizing Boruto's body, and vice versa, because as much as Momoshiki can use Boruto's abilities, Boruto can use Momoshiki's abilities as well. Remember what I said about them being one body and soul? They now share abilities with each other. And let's say you give someone like Momoshiki access to the Flying Raijin technique, or even worse, Rasengan Uzuhiko. It won't be a pretty sight for anyone, including the Shinju. And remember, he's proven to be able to analyze Boruto's abilities and use them in his own way as well, which just makes him that more dangerous. Currently in chapter 11, Boruto pulled up to save his little sister and Sarada from being devoured by the Shinju. Judging by the current situation, I can see three things happening. Either JURA will use the claw marks right beside Hidari to transport himself to the location and fight them there, or maybe Hidari just fights Boruto and possibly Sarada alone because Kawaki and Delta found JURA first. Or maybe Boruto takes Sarada as well as Himawari and uses Flying Raijin to retreat. Well, if the first or second one happens and Boruto chooses to fight, then we might run into a problem. And before I go on, I just want to say this is probably the outcome I would like to see the most, because you never, and I mean never, pass up a chance to see Boruto fight, especially against the Shinju. It's almost guaranteed to be an entertaining fight. But if he chooses to fight, there are some risks associated with that. If the Shinju start to overwhelm Boruto and possibly exhaust him to the point where his body can become taken over by Momoshiki, then even though you probably have a good chance for him to force the Shinju to retreat, we have to remember, we don't know what Momoshiki's motives are as of now. We know since the Shinju pose a great threat to Boruto, that's enough for Momoshiki to want to get rid of them. It's all to protect his precious vessel from being devoured. So if granted the opportunity, he'd probably think of this situation in a similar way he did against Code back in part 1. Because of Boruto fearing of his body being hijacked, he'll always be holding back subconsciously. He doesn't want to push himself or use up too much chakra, so him going all out in the fight might want to be something he avoids as a whole, which further explains why him mastering Kenjutsu and using that as his primary fighting style makes a lot of sense now. It can be used as a way to preserve stamina during longer battles, and it's gonna help him fight without spamming ninjutsu or rely on using chakra as a whole. But with Momoshiki in control, this limit instantly becomes non-existent. He'll be allowed to use 100% of his power right out the gate. If this happens, I think we see a situation where Boruto, or Borushiki, comes out victorious in this fight, or at least for the time being. Then there's the threat of Momoshiki turning on everyone and trying to unalive those closest to Boruto. Let's say the Shinju do retreat, and Konoha is quote-unquote saved. That doesn't mean Momoshiki will just willingly go back to sleep. One of his main goals is still to have Boruto lose his will to live and have him give up his body on his own free will. So to sabotage his entire meaning of life and destroy everyone he's trying to protect in the first place? Oh yeah, that could possibly make a huge dent on his mental resolve. And Boruto most likely knows Momoshiki is capable of something like this. So keeping him at bay by not even using the karma is the best possible solution to the problem for now. There's actually several ways Momoshiki could come into play here, but the odds of him just exhausting too much chakra and forcefully being took over is much more likely, which, if you ask me, is a perfect way to nerf someone like Boruto, who most people would say is quote-unquote too strong, or whatever the narrative is now in the Boruto community. I wouldn't even say it's a nerf, to be honest, but maybe a way to balance his character. If Boruto was able to go all out and use 100% of his power from the get-go, then I think we see a very different fight against the Shinju in chapter 4. He activates his karma and tries to eliminate every one of them then and there. Not saying he would win in that hypothetical situation or anything, because at the end of the day, it's still a 4-on-1. And I don't care how strong you are, those odds aren't favorable towards anyone. but I think we see a much more aggressive Boruto, maybe even to go as far as to seriously injure one or even two of them. In chapter 12, we're most likely gonna see or get foreshadowed on a Momoshiki appearance. It's already been slightly hinted at in chapter 9, so we already know. Kishimoto won't tell us something like this without giving it context soon. So if we get to see Momoshiki soon, what do you think will happen? Will he stop time again to speak with Boruto about more future prophecy? Maybe discuss the future and the inevitable fate of him in the shinobi world? Or will it be to confront the Shinju and try to soothe the situation? And if that happens, what do you think happens to Boruto's friends and the rest of Konoha? There's honestly so many different scenarios we could talk about that'll probably have us sitting here all day and night. But honestly, I'm more interested in hearing what you guys think about it. The topic is so complex that I don't think I'll see the same comment twice. Everyone is gonna have their own opinion based on how they interpret this question. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy, then I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified whenever I upload or go live for chapter spoilers and other fun stuff. Regardless if we see Momoshiki or not, chapter 12 is already bound to be one of the best chapters we'll get in a minute, just because of the anticipation between Boruto and the Shinju. So I'll definitely be going live to react to the spoilers with y'all. Make sure you're there because it's gonna be a legendary stream. But without further ado, I'll see y'all in my next video. And I'm out. Peace.